has like a slot essentially where it's like it's kind of like plugged in. You gotta like, you gotta break the connection and then pull it out.
Yeah.
I feel like that's solid.
You've linked yourself to the object.
Yeah.
And I need to break the soul connection.
The soul connection
in order to pass it off. Yeah.
I'm actually hovering it with telekinesis.
That's actually really impressive.
Have you noticed?
No.
Okay, cool. It means I'm doing a good job.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
When I pass something off, it's usually like I drop it in the palm just so
if it's really small, for sure.
Well, yeah. I think for like medium-sized objects, I try to do the same shit just in case they do drop it. I'm like, hey, you didn't catch it. That's not my fault. But in terms of success rate, I don't know. I don't think there is a way. I think you have to be like physically locked with the person. You almost have to do a handshake every time you want to pass something off.
Serious shit. It's like, I don't know. And at that point, you're just holding hands with them. I don't want to do it.
that Nordic Viking pass off where you give it to them
forearms,
at the forearm. They have to be really quick to get it.
Here's your bag of weed, sir.
Fuck.
Yeah. Right in the fucking elbow.
They're grinding it along your arm. It just falls perfectly into the blunt.
They had forearms.
Here's the dagger I made for you.
Hold on to this.
Yeah, just right into their fucking kidney. I mean, that's like the bulletin board of the body. You know, you that's where you like post things.
I mean,
the bulletin board of the body.
If you're gonna put a thumbtack and a piece of paper anywhere, it's gonna be on the abdomen.
I feel like it would be the
your
chest
body or your
pecs.
There's bone. You got too much.
No, do you know how much muscles on your pecs right here? You know how much bone is that? The rib cage?
I'm boned up here.
Okay, listen, you either hit bone or organs down here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Your abdomen.
Yeah, that's bad. That's literally just straight up like fuck. The first
stomach. Wait, finish that sentence.
No, down there it's like straight up organs. Yeah. Unless you have like the hardest abs ever. Yeah, but like the thing is
I'm abbed out.
Okay.
Stop thrusting.
Stop flexing.
I'm crunching. I'm not thrusting.
Stop flexing your 16 pack. Not everyone has it.
I have a washboard.
He might have a 16 pack, but he also has the tiniest tits in the podcast. Speaking
They're
of
like
podcasts,
inverted.
Welcome to the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm Zane.
I didn't even register that you were wearing it. It's just so natural on you.
Okay, yeah, this shirt. I've wanted this shirt forever. You guys have probably seen it. It's it's just in red text, Joe Rogan podcast, and there's a picture of Sonic and Shadow the Hedgehog making out on it, like full tongue.
Yeah, it's a good fucking shirt. I kind of love it.
I saw it a while ago, and I really wanted it, so I was
You bought it online?
Yeah, just off of Etsy. I was like, I have to get it. It's a little bit shitty quality, but honestly, I don't care.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It wasn't expensive, yeah.
How much was it?
Like $30.
Oh, that's not bad.
Shipping is like $5.
It's worth it because you're such a huge fan of Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and Sonic the Hedgehog, and Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah,
and the platonic relationship.
What were their ship names?
Yeah, they're friends with benefits.
Shadonic. Their ship name.
You can search that up, and there will be a million different alternatives.
Okay, so on Twitter,
yikes,
there was this politician
already cringe.
No, relax. Okay, all my topics come from Twitter. All right, but there was this politician who's gay, and he was running in a very he was running in the place where Lauren Boebert got elected. So it's a very conservative district, and so he's running as a Democrat. And so he's kind of like a more conservative Democrat because he's trying to win over those voters, and he's gay. And so like he did this video talking about like how like liberals lost or something about like
people
Democrats
voting for Bernie. And
it was like, he was talking shit on Bernie, and he was saying like Democrats like losing favor with like young people. Like, we don't care about the vote. Like, that's what they said basically.
Okay.
And then somebody like retweeted it, and like, it was like, I should find the exact quotes, but it was like something smarmy. Like, he was calling the guy in the video a smarmy faggot. Like, it was smarmy, and then it was a cigarette like emoji.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a lot of discourse, quote unquote, going around like, you know, is that cool? Like, for like, and apparently the person on Twitter was gay, but like, even then, I like personally, I think like there are times in which that word can be funny, especially when you're with gay people.
That's definitely not a.
When you post that, that's
like,
literally an insult.
Yeah, you're just like slurring him.
The slur.
It's like, it's not funny. It's not a joke. It's like it's the same logic that a 13-year-old fucking kid on Call of Duty would use to say like the N-word's just really funny whenever you say it, and then just fucking spam
every time you say it, especially when you make it as hateful as possible. It's hilarious.
When you say it with vitriol, it gets better.
When you really mean it from deep down, that's when it's really funny.
So as a bisexual man, how do you feel?
Personally, I don't think people should use it that much, like especially in that way,
Like you just did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you're talking about it,
you're quoting it.
I'm in context. But like even then, I think there are jokes when it could be funny, and like if you're saying it ironically or something. But he was like literally just calling him that, or she or they or whatever. I don't know. It's just kind of weird, I think, especially like when I talk to other people on Twitter, they're like, you don't have enough gay friends if this is your opinion. It's like, bitch, I suck dick and take it in the ass. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? Like, it's hello.
Also,
and it's not
like
something I
90%
do.
of our friends are gay.
Yeah, that's
in some
that too.
capacity.
And he called you guys all nerds, so get fucked.
I guess I'll go back to Valorant.
Yeah.
He's not wrong. However, rude.
Yeah, that's besides the point. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, it's like we've talked a lot about this to a far extent, and I think the episode was called the Edge episode. But it's just like there has to be a certain kind of context that you're working within to be able to actually say something like that. Because if you're saying it directly as an insult, there's just no value in it.
Yeah, you got to create yourself a back door. So if you're being racist, be careful about it. You know,
How do you be careful about being racist?
well, generally, like,
Have you ever heard of the
avoid it.
Southern strategy?
Yeah.
What is the Southern strategy?
You've never heard of that?
Attack on
No.
both fronts. Sun Tzu,
No,
you
that's
know?
not.
Ah, yes, the South, China.
The Southern strategy was like, I forget. It was like some Republican strategist came up with it for like Richard Nixon, I think.
What the fuck?
It was for like Republicans who wanted to gain like the votes of like racists and shit, like in the
Oh,
deep South.
cool.
They would use language like states' rights or like other like very coded language that
Patriotic
is just
terms.
like something like that, where it's like
rile
it
up
signals a certain base and like
That's
Whistleblowing.
literally whistleblowing.
yeah, just dog whistling. But yeah, whistleblowing is
Yeah,
like
dog
when you're a
whistling. Yeah,
journalist. Yeah, fucking go in there and take out all the muck.
Just hop up on stage and be like, "Sue!" Done with
The
it.
South will rise again, and they go, yeehaw!
And then he wins all the votes.
Yeah, basically.
the South.
That's an effective strategy nowadays.
It really is.
Just scary. But yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about it personally. What do you think, Alex?
I don't think.
Because you consider
know.
yourself bisexual, right?
Yeah, I
Or-
mean,
or
like,
All.
the thing is that like even though I would fuck a man, it's like I don't really feel that attached to the gay community.
Yeah,
So,
I don't
like,
really
I feel
either.
like I personally
Jeez.
don't really have the ability to make a stance on this.
That's fair.
You know, so
Yeah,
probably
I mean, I kinda
don't
feel the
use
same
it.
way.
Yeah.
But you know,
Oh yeah. The big thing that triggered me is that like this
Liberal trigger.
this person said like something like what's it called? Like gay people say the F slur all the time or whatever. And I was like, ah, yes, the gay people trademark. And then just like the black people or the Asian people
Yeah.
use these
What?
things, you know? You feel connected to that community?
Yeah.
Alex, the Asian.
it's my identity now at this
It's your
point.
subtitle.
Kind
you
of,
know?
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's really weird, like to
Yeah.
monolith like that.
mean-
Even as a gay person, it's just like really cringe.
Yeah.
Even like we talked about this pretty much an extent using slurs in this kind of capacity. And I think either way, it's still wrong. It's just kind of
Yeah.
like, even as somebody who is perpetrating that kind of ideology, it's like if you're calling somebody, like if you called somebody the F slur, it's like, I would still be like, bro.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But it's like
Because even if you are gay, you can still marginalize people
Yeah,
within your own
because
group.
it's like
It doesn't give you
like
an
think
out.
about like Candace Owens. Like if she
Oh
were
my
if
God.
she were to
Just-
say the N word, like holy fuck, like that is.
Oh yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah.
I never really realized that. Yeah, no wonder, because everyone would be like,
Yeah.
oh my god, that would
Because she's
immediately
super
give all of
racist.
that would immediately give all of her white Republicans like the out to say it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, Candace Owens says it.
Says
I feel like at some point we'll move to a point like beyond where social, or at least in politics, fucking, I hope at some point we'll move beyond the need for like, sexuality, gender, race.
Well, that'll
at
be
least
a
in the
long time
in the
from now.
eyes of politics. I feel like these aren't massive issues. I mean, they are
They
massive
It's
issues.
mostly a
Well,
societal
but, like-
issue. Politics wouldn't have to solve this.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that like all of those things are like pretty fundamental to a lot of people's identities, you know.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's a nice thought to be like, we're all equal. We don't care, don't see color, all that shit. But it's like people are gonna organize that way, and a lot of times.
In terms of
Massive
reclamation, with something like the N-word, it's like the roots beyond it go way deeper than like the F slur does. So I think given enough time, 100 years or so, the F slur may be able to be reclaimed. Maybe. But because of how, I don't want to say it's fresh or new, because people have been saying it for decades at this point, but maybe down the line. But
even then, there are black people, like especially like older black people who aren't like racist or anything, who don't like use that word at all, and like they tell their kids not to use it.
Don't use it.
And it's like, I think it's just like, I don't know. It's a very nuanced, difficult issue to approach for sure. And it's weird, like being white and being like, black people shouldn't say the N-word to each other.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any place to say that. But first of all, it's like everyone can do what they want. It's not like a problem if you don't, if you're black and you're saying like, don't use it. Yeah. I do understand the sentiment with it, because if you're going to use it around a white person, they're probably going to be like, I can say it. Yeah. Which is why nowadays there's a whole like, you should not say it unless you are black or a person of color.
So there are some black people who give their white friends permission to relax.
Say it, Anthony.
But like obviously going out and then doing it to other black people that they don't know, it's like, that's a different story,
and which is why we've mentioned this before, where it's like you gotta understand your audience at that point, because if you have a lot of black friends that are okay saying it, it's like I don't think I would be able to say it too, even if they were like, yeah, you can say it. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I'd just be too uncomfortable.
Should I tell my story? The one.
My origin story.
My origin story with the N-word.
Yeah, sure.
My N-word origin story.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's some funny context.
So I was, so my brothers are like 5 and 6 years older than me, and they had like a big group of friends that they all hung out with. And they had this one friend named McCain who was like always like super chill, super nice. He was like always super friendly with me, like talking to me, like, fucking around. We would joke around, banter, all that shit. And I was like maybe 9 or 10 at this time, like somewhere around there, 11 maybe.
Yeah.
And
young.
Yeah. And he would always call me his little N-word with a soft A. I'm not gonna say it, but he said it.
Go on.
And this progressed, and I'd be like, yeah, bro, nice, cool. I'm your friend. Cool. Let's go. I'm your guy.
I'm your dude.
I'm your little.
I'm your little dude.
Little guy.
And then he started asking me to call him big N-word with a soft A, but okay, let me explain something. Now let's put a pause on that, okay?
Because it's like pin in it. Let's put it on the bulletin board.
I didn't say it yet. It was just like he started egging me on to say it. Okay, so now
you were just waiting. You're fair.
Let's make another peek into my life where I thought I was like a mature person. I would try to speak like very eloquently and like say every word as properly. I was like 9, 10, or 11. Like I was reading a lot, and I was like, I always wanted to be like talking to the adults and shit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I would just like try to speak like that. How about them
taxes, huh?
I wouldn't say
like,
shit
get
like
the
that.
fuck out of here. It's 2008. We're in a fucking crisis right now.
Don't talk to me about taxes, you little fuck.
Go piss your pants.
How's your job doing? Get the fuck out of here.
I don't have a job. I just lost my job. So I would always say things like I wouldn't say ain't or like things like that. Yeah. I wouldn't end things with an A is what I'm saying. I would finish the ER in most words. Bro. Like I wouldn't say trigger, I'd say trigger. I wouldn't say, things like that.
How times have changed.
and so back to the real story. He tried to get me to call him that, and I called him big N-word with the hard R.
I feel like you're regretting this the more like you.
I'll share. I don't care because McCain.
It was like fucking
like I was literally like 9 or 10 years old.
The internet doesn't forget.
Fuck him.
I mean, like it comes with the idea of no. Well, we've also mentioned this a lot too, where like the idea of growing as a person. I think everyone nowadays is like, and that's back to the whole cancel culture spiel. Yeah. A lot of people are kind of okay with how people grow. It's like such a face value thing to be like, yeah, there's still a lot of people, but it's such like a an upfront thing to just be like, oh, this person said this.
Yeah, they
back
are
in the day.
tainted.
Like if there was a
yeah.
video of you saying this coming out and we happen to be famous one day, people would, you know, if we were in the 2010s,
oh my
no
God,
video,
it's
I
his
promise.
first words.
yeah, people
What?
would be like,
What the
brother.
fuck did he just say?
But McCain laughed and then he told me you shouldn't say that word. And I was like, okay, cool. I wouldn't say it.
You learned
know
it the
what?
best way possible.
In
In a controlled
But yeah.
environment.
Yeah,
You were the
exactly.
test subject.
And so, but what I was gonna say is that like people do a lot of essentializing like on social media where it's like when someone does like one thing that could be perceived as like kind of bad, it's like they're a bad person now. Like they put them into that bucket where it's like they're either wholly good or wholly bad.
Yeah.
Because it's like I think it might have something to do with like parasociality of like a lot of online relationships, like with especially with people with public platforms. You know, it's like
you get attached to that kind of person.
Yeah,
So
and so
when
it's
you
like-
see them,
yeah.
you only know the upfront value of them as
also
well.
like you see like a lot of them in yourself. Like you like your
Yeah, that's the
values
reason-
are reflected on the
Yeah,
person.
that's the reason why people get obsessed with
Yeah,
celebrities in
exactly,
the first
yeah.
place. They're like, they're
Culture.
either what I want you to be or what I want to be,
Yeah.
or like
what I think
they're-
I am. or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. it's a personal attachment, like you
Yeah.
said.
Just like BTS.
So you feel like you do need to kind of hold. Well, I think in general, people should probably hold celebrities to a certain standard.
Yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
Of
of
course, because
the
they're
public
people
figure.
too.
But like
In terms of
people
what
can
they do,
change.
like a fucking, I don't know, like Dick Cheney came out of the woodwork and was like, yeah, I said the N-word all the time. People would be like, bro, that's fucked up. And I would agree, even if it was like 5
Well, I think he
years
did
ago.
other things.
Yeah,
that
he
would
did a
make
lot
me
of
not-
shit.
not
I'm
think
just
that
I'm
he's
just
good.
pinning it on Dick Cheney right now.
Kill John Lennon.
Yeah, that was Dick Cheney.
It's kind of weird.
Okay, so we recorded a podcast last week. We tried to record a podcast last week, but we had a couple weeks break because we were super busy with everything, and I kind of lost track of time. And then after we took
I've been playing Minecraft. You don't.
we played Minecraft
I
one
played a little
weekend, and we
bit.
got lost. We lost track of time.
We got lost.
We got lost in Minecraft.
Yeah.
And then we had a vacation 1 week.
I got lost in Zane's eyes.
Yeah, we're gonna end up like my hoodie right now.
Yeah.
Hey yo,
As you're vaping straight into the microphone.
I wasn't. It was over here.
You are in front of.
It was
Okay.
over here.
What, it's gonna pick up, and I hope you listen to the podcast. And you're gonna
Boost
be like,
it.
shit. Yeah, I'm gonna boost
You better
it.
bass boost it.
Okay. Yeah, and then we tried to record one. We didn't actually end up hitting record, and we didn't have a lot of time.
He says we. No, I'm kidding.
It was Alex. He didn't hit record.
Yeah.
Anyways, piggybacking off the whole F slur thing, we were talking about the lost topic was basically how comedians, because we went to a comedy show.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. We
Shout out
entirely.
Nicole in her comedy club. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
It was really fun.
But there was a lot of discourse that was very edgy. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't
Yeah.
like racially motivated or like politically motivated in a lot of situations.
No,
It was
I don't
mostly
think so.
about
Humor motivated.
There was just really dark jokes.
yeah,
like
they
he
were
made
pretty dark.
of a joke about Timothy McVeigh. Like I forget what the like Timothy McVeigh was the punchline.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like something about people being whatever. And for those of you who don't know, Timothy McVeigh is like a white nationalist like mass murderer who like killed like 70 something people
Mhm.
and like decapitated a bunch, like blew up a bunch of shit. Like he was going crazy. He was going nuts.
He's going
And so it's like
gamer mode.
and I don't know. I think that those things are able to be joked about, especially in like the environment of a comedian, because I personally think that like you're able to be like dark and even kind of like edgy if you're making like a critique and a point,
Yeah.
like that, like satire. You know what I mean? Like where
Yeah.
you can be satiric, but like if you're not being clear in your satire, then it's like, does this guy actually believe this shit?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Sam Hyde.
I feel
Same
like
height.
a lot of issue with comedians is that you have to ride the line of you're not taking away from the event itself from being horrible, but you're making it feel not as bad.
No,
in hindsight.
they don't want that. They want to add value.
Yeah,
They want to get those laughs.
They're trying to
wanna
get
those
comedic value out of it.
NFTs,
those NFTs.
those pog faces
Hey
from
guys,
the audience.
thanks for watching my show. Now, if you got any NFTs, I'd like to see your OpenSea wallet, and I will accept them.
So yeah, back to the whole topic is like the the idea of context, I think, is very important when you're telling jokes like that, because
Yeah.
with, just calling somebody the F slur, it may be to them, it's probably funny because of how extreme you're being, but in reality, it just comes off as distasteful and rude. Yeah. So it's like
Seth Rogen would not find that funny.
No, he would find it. He's like, "What are you calling these losers the F slur? That's fucking hilarious. What do you mean?"
Dude, he's a libtard.
I eat meat.
He's a libtard. Seth Rogen.
Oh, Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen, not Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
Joe Rogan's different.
Yeah, I was thinking Joe Rogan.
Because he was doing.
They're kind of like the same person, but on the opposite sides of the political spectrum.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Because Seth Rogen is bearded and has hair. Joe
Rogan is a thumb,
balding and has no facial hair. I think he can grow a beard though. I think
probably he is like a 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah. So probably
it might be a little weak though.
It's a 5 o'clock man.
What does that mean?
He's only awake at 5 o'clock.
Exactly at 5 o'clock, and he's asleep the rest of the time. He like shoves fucking food in his mouth and drinks. That's what intermittent fasting is.
The Roganites need me.
The Roganites.
Yeah, you wake up, eat one meal, and then go 2 days.
Not even a meal, dude. You get like a fucking
one
funnel.
thing of Soylent.
You get a big ass like industrial sized blender. You just throw like mangoes and like fucking protein powder and brain force in there. Your brain's gonna be so wrinkly. You have no clue. You have no idea.
So, anyways.
Yeah, keep thinking, buddy. All right,
get some more wrinkles. You need some more brain food.
Yeah,
it all just comes with the territory. But in general, you know, with the context of edgy comedy like that, you do have to pay attention to like. I know my audience is going to enjoy this, but the general context. And I know they're not trying to appeal to the widest audience possible, but it's. You need to understand that people will still be like, "That's fucking disgusting."
Yeah. Do you guys watch Doug on YouTube?
Doug?
So basically he's a Twitch streamer, and what he does is he makes code that basically enables his Twitch chat to participate in whatever game he's doing.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
The most recent video he turned on sub only mode just to see the difference between like just true RNG, like this is random chat doing random chat things versus the people who have like watched him and that his dedicated audience. They had a challenge to count to 10 in chat, and in GTA it would boost his car faster and explode him at the at the top count. But with random chat, they couldn't get past fucking 5. Sub chat got up to like 10 immediately and just insta killed him.
That's pretty funny. It's insane sometimes, like the way that people are able to like command their audience. You know what I mean? Like when fucking people on like Our Place or whatever, like streamers, they were like doing shit like
well, they would congregate people. They would give them a template and they'd be like, do stuff in this space.
What was that one fucking Twitch streamer who had like a flag, and then there was just this massive like people were doing like detective work to find out where this flag was and just break into his house and take it down.
Oh my God.
What
the fuck?
I remember that was a fucking thing.
On Our Place?
I don't think it was on Our Place, but it was just a Twitch stream that constantly had this flag and like.
Oh, you're talking about the He Will Not Divide Us.
Yeah, that thing.
That Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Was it on 4chan?
Yeah, the 4chan freaks.
Oh yeah, the live stream. What was just like of some flag. Yeah, they triangulated airplane data. They looked at like surrounding airports, and I think they found it was either someplace in Colorado or like Arizona or something.
I have no clue.
Just some dead of nowhere.
Yeah, fucked up. And literal like SWAT team agents just like in there going after this flag, just like 4chan. What
are you guys doing?
Yeah,
cool, but geez.
No, not cool, because they use that shit for evil.
They definitely use it maliciously, but that act was, I think, particularly interesting.
Yeah.
The idea of it is interesting, but the way that it's used is not always so interesting.
Yeah, it's impressive, but it's scary, you know?
Like edgy
U.S. got to weaponize 4chan.
What'd you just say?
U.S. got to weaponize 4chan.
They're already weaponized. That's anonymous.
Yeah.
You're talking directly to Anonymous right now.
Anonymous is anti 4chan, probably. They're like,
maybe.
They're pretty.
Well,
they're pretty
I'm pretty
based.
sure they were created from 4chan.
Really? I didn't know that.
Because it's an anonymous posting website. You can't really.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm pretty sure you can still find a way to track through the posts, but there's probably ways around it because the actual.
They figured out a way if they if there is.
I mean, I know they send a lot more minute data. Like it's not like you're directly connected to like a fucking Discord call or something, or like an account that you have.
4chan Incorporated. So much bad shit is posted on 4chan that hurts so many people. Like there was that I forget what it was called, but people were they like put in the recipe for like some acid or some shit that would like make acid. And you had to like, there was a step in it where you had to like blow bubbles into it. And they said that you were making like some fruity drink or some shit. And so like when you blow into the straw, it would just come back up at you and like fucking burn your, burn your face and your mouth.
God,
and shit.
what a prank.
There was like another one where it was like, I made these yellow lights by using my piss and bleach or something. And that when you mix urine and bleach, because there's ammonia in it, it makes fucking mustard gas. And so like people died from that.
This is a funny prank to play on your grandparents.
These are jokes that went way too far. Because
I don't think those are jokes.
They're not.
No.
Well, it's probably funny to them because they're like, dude, this dude's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, they're probably like psychopaths. There are some funny there is some funny shit on 4chan though. Like green texts. No, green texts are hilarious.
Dude,
there's so many. There's some that are really fucked up.
I see a bunch of D&D green texts and I steal all the ideas.
Nice.
4chan as a whole nowadays is a lot more tame than it was back in the day.
Probably, yeah.
Because it seems like
child porn.
I mean, 4chan in like the early internet days was anarchy, but nowadays it's used more for like its actual forum posting.
The internet in general early on was like anarchy, because like that shit happened on Twitter too. Like people were going fucking crazy on Twitter before like like a real TOS came.
Speaking of TOS and Twitter,
Elon
Musk.
What did he do?
He's okay. So
what did he do now? That quirky Elon.
I mean, honestly, but I hate Elon Musk so much, and this just confirms it even more. But like the whole idea of what he's doing is he bought a fuck ton of Twitter stock earlier in the week. Like he became the largest shareholder with 9%. Yeah, it was 9%. That's what I was trying to think of. And he didn't want to be a board member because of this particular move where he gave Twitter an offer for like $54 billion or something. To buy Twitter.
I think there was a first offer that was like 48 billion, and then they said like no, and then there was a second one that was like 54.
So he gave him an offer that was a fuck ton of money, just to be able to run Twitter, because he didn't like the fact that people were like getting banned for TOS and stuff. Which is we can get into Twitter's TOS in a second, but because I know Elon Musk has no idea what's going on.
I'm not even familiar with Twitter TOS. I just follow for porn, which is probably against
it's pretty
TOS.
Basic. Obviously, it's going to be pretty extensive, but like for the most part, it's not anything that's overruling or anything. But the move financially that really pisses me off is he bought 9% just
that was to escape like issues with the SEC. Because like once that big of an acquisition or something was like illegal.
But like in one move, you can't do that.
Next month.
And another thing that he's doing is like he told Twitter in like in the forms that he sent to formally request the acquisition of it, is like he basically said that if they don't accept this final offer, like the 54 billion, he will basically pull out all his stocks from the Twitter that he just bought, which will tank the stock. Then,
oh my fucking
which
God.
Is very direct manipulation without saying I'm manipulating the stock. But SEC is not going to do anything about it because it's Elon Musk.
Oh, they might at that point if he actually.
I don't think they will.
That.
I don't think there's.
We'll see. I don't know. But like the
amount of shit that they've already let everybody else get away with, like hedge funds and shit. There is no way they're not going to.
What's wrong with hedge funds?
I mean, it's the same thing that Elon Musk does. They buy from like dark pools, and they're able to manipulate the stock because they have so much money. They have like so much liquidation value where they can literally just like sell all of their securities for a stock, and they don't have to sell those. They don't have to tell anybody that they're actually lending stocks to, like when you buy through a broker and a hedge fund and everything. Basically, they're able to manipulate the market without any intervention from the consumer base. So basically, if they don't like that a stock is doing well, they can tank it. They can short sell the fuck out of it, and they could.
What happened to GameStop?
Yeah, and they can short the fuck out of it, and then buy a fuck ton of puts on it and everything. So they get more money out of it by directly doing this. And I'm sure Elon Musk did something very similar, where it's like either way this goes, he's going to bank off of it because he gets Twitter, which has a stock that did rise a lot in the past week because of the discourse around it. Or he's going to be able to buy a fuck ton of puts on it and then take out all of his stocks, and then he gets the money back anyways from it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is, direct manipulation of the entire stock market.
I feel like you couldn't sell off all of that like that quickly.
He bought all of it.
Buying it is different though. Like,
well, then why is selling it the problem?
Because of like the way that maybe if you're trading because like I know that
I
if
don't think
you're,
there's any rules
it
and
might be-
regulations against like selling off mass volume.
it might
stock.
be that it's when it's bigger they don't care, but like because when you need like in a Robinhood account or whatever, you need to have like more than 20K or something to be like a day trader.
He's making
like,
little
sell.
billion-dollar
so, like, he
money
can do it,
moves.
yeah.
So
I was just not thinking.
Yeah, I mean, hedge
But-
funds can do the same thing, which is how they manipulate it. They can sell all that stock in basically one go. It doesn't operate all in one go because it depends on what kind of booking you're routing through.
yeah, it's
I
also
don't
people who are trying to buy it up as well.
I don't
Who
have
can you
like
sell it to?
I don't have a super strong opinion on Elon. I definitely think he's like pretty cringy and he does some dumb things. And like the way that he is like, we need Hyperloop, fuck public transportation.
Yeah, he
we
doesn't-
need electric
He doesn't
cars.
know. He's not like
Yeah.
a scientist. He doesn't
No.
know shit.
Well, like he's like, I think he's like a pretty smart guy. Like I think
honestly
he
don't think so. I think
I think
financially
he
he's pretty
played.
smart.
I think he played a role in developing PayPal. I'm pretty sure. I don't know though. In terms of like coding it, and he obviously is smart, at least in terms of like getting the right people. You know, like management wise. Like for SpaceX, I think
business
SpaceX
smart.
has done some pretty impressive things.
But he could have easily just hired a management team to do that. And they could have done
but
that too.
that's also that makes him really smart to do that.
Yeah,
though,
I think he's a
you
good
know?
businessman.
Yeah,
Because
I
he's
don't know.
obviously one of the richest people in
Yeah.
the world. But in terms of, his companies doing stuff for society and such, it's basically hit or miss. I think SpaceX is great.
Yeah.
I think Tesla did a lot for. I don't love Tesla's cars.
Mhm.
They've done a lot of work in the electric vehicle market.
It's
Yeah,
definitely.
they've
I think
definitely modernized it.
they pushed a lot of the other like big manufacturers to actually start making electric cars.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
for
definitely
sure.
a great positive. But
Yeah.
in terms of like the cars themselves, they haven't really, since they
They're
started
kinda
coming
cheap
out.
made.
Yeah, they're cheaply made and they're super expensive.
Mhm.
They're still pretty cool.
Yeah, they look cool. Like I think
They look cool.
the iPad on the inside is pretty cool.
I don't like the iPad.
Really?
Still don't. No.
I think it looks cool.
I like a more sleek dash.
Sleek.
I
What
kind
would
of
make
like
it more
buttons,
sleek?
but whatever.
Just like I don't like the fact that there's just this massive center thing jutting out. That's just a pad.
Well, I
You'd
mean,
rather
it-
have
I'd
it
rather have it integrated in
embossed-
like the
embossed,
dashboard or
whatever.
some
but then
shit.
it would be like because it's either you have a whole screen or you have like a screen inlay and then some buttons for some shit.
I would
you know
much
what I mean?
rather have like a bunch of buttons that do separate things, and then you can
I think
still
I'd rather have it
you
too.
can still have the massive screen. Just don't jut it out. Just turn it in, like have a little horizontal slash bit and just push it back.
I think the worst thing for those kinds of cards with the digital dashboard is like navigating through menus. I'd rather just be able to be like, oh, that button turns on my headlights. This button
Well,
turns
I
on
think
my
the
fucking...
essential ones are like right there.
Yeah, I
but
think there's
yeah.
laws that like the hazards have to be physical. The turn signal has to be physical.
Interesting.
Lights have to be, maybe lights don't have to be physical. I don't know. But, navigating through menus when I'm fucking trying to drive is horrible. I'd rather just have,
Yeah.
like Alex said, all the buttons kind of
Definitely.
laid out for you. Because also it's muscle memory, being like, oh, I know this knob does this, so I don't have to take my
That's
eyes
true.
off the road.
That's fair, especially it being more tactile.
Yeah.
You can like feel for it.
Yeah,
the
you
shape
go to
of the
change a
button.
setting while not looking, and you accidentally turn off your fucking car from the iPad. Like, well, shit. What do I do now? Fucked.
I'll just ride the engine.
I'll ride the Hyperloop today, I guess.
Yeah, going back to Elon Musk and his stupid ideas. I think a lot of like what he's trying to do now is just it's not going to pan out because they're not thought out ideas. Like
Yeah.
the Hyperloop is, I think
Yeah,
is the
he's
best.
just a fucking
example
some
of it.
ADHD child with a lot of money.
Also, the tunnels underground for the cars or whatever,
Yeah.
like the single lane highways that just take like a car like once at a time. It's just
That's
really
the Hyperloop,
stupid.
isn't it?
No, the Hyperloop is like the
Bullet train.
there's like like a bullet train type system where it's just all like it's like a vacuum like compressed tube that like sucks
yeah.
the fucking thing.
I don't think he's ever going to actually do that though, because he's probably because he was all for that. That's kind of a conspiracy.
What?
Because he was like all for that Hyperloop for like when he first started becoming ultra famous for
Yeah.
the CEO that he was. That was like something that he was pushing, like that and the Boring Company.
Yeah.
But then the Boring Company is the one that made
there's
the car
probably
tunnels.
some massive flaw in his plan that they can't overcome yet, so he's
Well,
just pushing it back.
I think it's
Yeah, I think
probably the
if
industries
anything-
in America that are like, fuck no.
It might be that, but also I think what it more so is probably like as a CEO, like Elon Musk always like over promises and then under delivers.
Yeah.
Like that's something he does constantly.
Mhm.
Like in pretty much any of his companies. Maybe not PayPal. I think PayPal usually does like a pretty good job. I don't
Yeah.
even think it's run by him
PayPal's
anymore.
a good, it is. He
Yeah.
sold it, I think, a while ago,
Yeah.
but PayPal's a good company.
Yeah. I just think that is like an element of that where he's just like he wanted like, because it is a really cool idea, and I think like theoretically it should work. You know what I mean? Like there's been like research, but it's like I think we need bullet trains.
Yeah,
the Hyperloop doesn't have like move enough people.
Yeah, we can do like maglev trains. We just need
it's very short.
We need a new infrastructure getting like between cities. Our train system is dog shit. It's like it's like in like the 60s, the 20s, and
we
shit.
built a highway system, and then that was it. That was like the end of any sort of transportation that we did.
Yeah, it's because like the United States like plans its cities around cars versus like public transportation or anything. So it's like that's why there's like not a lot of pedestrian areas.
Even then, our civil engineers kind of suck fucking dick.
Yeah, but you can't even do it around cars because it's like in the middle of the cities, there's 3-lane roads. It's like a 5 road intersection.
That's part of the problem. Like if there was like what's it called? Because like a lot of the strategy for like road building is like just adding another fucking lane, and that's not effective.
Yeah, and then it just just people fill up that lane. People just fill up that lane. Yeah, it's like nothing happens.
It's like there's literal like studies on it that show like adding another lane doesn't actually do shit.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, look at China with their like 50 lane super highways. It's like they still get packed up.
Yeah. And they're like double layered too. Like some of them, it's like fucking insane.
Like the more that is not going to fill up. Honestly, the infographics where it shows like a busy highway or like a busy intersection, and then they just replace it all with buses. There's like 5 buses at most. Yeah,
it's insane. And like, you know, cars can still exist, but it's like, I just don't think that they should be as prevalent as they are. Because also it's just, I don't think it's in terms of like with climate change and everything, it's not realistic for everyone to have like their own car vehicle. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't think,
or at least not a gas powered vehicle.
Yeah. Well, because I think like even the electrical ones, they take a lot of resources like lithium and cobalt and shit like that. And it's like, I don't know if we should be doing that forever, or like maybe we'll have other ways of synthesizing those things in the future. You know,
it's particle colliders making new elements.
Yeah. We should just reach into another universe, fucking grab it.
Yeah.
Why haven't we done this? Elon, where the fuck?
Work on a fucking portal, you dumbass.
Make Tesla use unobtainium.
We need the unobtainium.
I think Elon Musk, I think his earlier ideas like SpaceX, PayPal, and Tesla were...
he's running on empty now.
I think they were...
Yeah, I think at this point, he has gotten caught up in the idea that he is someone who's good at doing this stuff. And now he's not thinking hard enough about his actual plans.
He's like
how to actually implement them.
He's like the guy who wants to like do future shit. Like that's what people like see him as, like at least his fans. And I think that's fair to an extent, because he does do like more, like he's pushing the envelope in a lot of things like SpaceX or Tesla or whatever. But at the same time, like we've gone over like a million times, like he's fucking up in those other areas. It's just silly.
He needs to hire Neil deGrasse Tyson for SpaceX.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, why? He might be cringe and annoying, but he's like a theoretical physicist.
He's literally
smart.
Elon Musk if he was a scientist.
Yeah. But Neil deGrasse Tyson is more liberal. Okay, he's less stupid. He's less cringe.
He's not making flamethrowers though.
The thing is that Neil deGrasse Tyson is just like an insufferable person.
Is he actually? I don't know much about him.
Kind of annoying. Have you seen his Twitter? He rehashes the same fucking 5 tweets.
I just remember following Neil deGrasse Tyson on the Plebcast Twitter, and I've never followed up on that.
I mean, like I think he says some interesting things, and he has some interesting talks, but sometimes he's like very condescending and very like, actually, like that kind of shit. Like talking about like the leap year or whatever. Like he was saying some like really obvious dumb shit that is like everybody knows. You're just like trying to sound smart, you know, like that's what it is.
Like we get
run out of fun facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he really is like just a fun fact account at this point.
I mean, basically. I mean, if you're, I think the reason for that though is probably because he does like a lot of work in getting people involved in like science and like making them interested in things that are like within the scientific field.
He works with the kids.
Yeah, I don't know if he does that, but yeah, maybe.
I mean, I don't know. Bill Nye.
Yeah, cringe Bill Nye.
He kind of fits in the same vein as Bill.
Bill Nye is cool. I'm saying Neil deGrasse Tyson is cringe Bill Nye.
Oh yeah, okay.
Bill Nye's gotten some angst in the years.
Yeah, he has some
angst. Oh yeah, you remember the video he put out about global warming?
Yeah,
or whatever?
We set it on fire.
Yeah, he was swearing.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god, my childhood hero. My children. Honestly, I think it's good. You know, like because it's like there's a generation of people that grew up with him, and it's like I think maturing with him, I think is like a good
Yeah, he took the PewDiePie route, but without the N-word.
Yeah. Well, you never know. There's always tomorrow.
Yeah, he starts playing PUBG. We're like, no, please.
Get off the bridge. Get off the bridge now, Bill Nye.
Play Apex. Play Apex.
I don't know if that's better.
Yeah. Oh, wait,
was there a massive Apex scandal?
No, I was thinking Warzone.
The scandal is the game itself.
Oh, yeah. Warzone, you should have known booting up Warzone.
Yeah, it's Call of Duty. It's like, it's par for the course.
Did you guys see that a bunch of environmental scientists got arrested for protesting? I'm pretty sure it was like regulations. Like it was a deregulation of some company or like some...
Where at? Like, what were they doing?
I don't remember. It was only like, I only skimmed the article, but I was just wondering if you guys knew anything more about that because it's honestly kind of fucked up.
I didn't hear about it. I do. The only like climate protests I really see are like the ones where I think it's like they're called like Operation Sunshine or some shit like that, where they literally just like they hold up like banners and they sit in crosswalks and block traffic. Like, and just like so sit there. Of them. Yeah, I know, it's super cool.
Blocking
and, like,
traffic is such a it's effective, but it's so annoying.
I mean, like, yeah, there's
Operation
like,
Sunshine.
There's a way to do it because like they're I don't know. It's like it's really tough because
you're blocking pedestrians. On one hand, like you're hurting the public more.
I don't even think it's that. Like because people could walk around them. It's obviously the cars. That
think of most of the people.
The cars are gonna sit in front of them idle, wasting more gas.
Yeah, true. But like I'm just saying, like because there was like a guy, like a dude in scrubs who like came in and was like ripped their signs away from them and was like, people are trying to fucking work, just move, move, and like scrammed them away. And it's like, I get where he's coming from, you know what I mean? But it's like, at the same time, you know, climate change is like a real issue and like protests probably need to start happening for that. But I'm not, it's tough.
I'm not saying the protest was a bad idea. It's a great idea. But if you're
execution.
It's like if you're going to, it doesn't make sense to block traffic for it because it's like, what are you really doing? You're just hindering the people who would be supporting you, who would be like, oh, what are they protesting for?
Or potentially,
Because if I'm trying to get to work and there's a protest in front of me, it's like, yeah, I get what you're doing, but fucking get out of the way.
You and fuck your
join
cause.
You guys after my goddamn shift.
It's like if you want to block something that is like a vital operation or something, do it for a company that's allowing or like that's deregulating. Do it for something that's actually gonna help when you block it.
I had like a big problem with like the rioting shit that went down like in a lot of cities during like BLM shit. And I'm not saying that like they were all violent and they were all doing riots because that's not the case. It was like a very small proportion of like
people are using that as a way to do violence.
But it's exactly, because it's like instead of like if you riot against like public institutions like police precincts or police cars and shit like that, like I think that's totally cool. That's like what America was built off of. No, that's what America was built off of. I agree. Know, like we should be able to take shit to the state and if they're fucking with our shit, but like doing it to private businesses, like it's just kind of defeats the purpose. Like I get that like Walmart or Target might do some unethical exploitative shit, but all it really does is hurt that local economy that relies on the store.
Your message by doing something.
Yeah, you just make people hate you.
Yeah,
and it just makes the movement ineffective.
I think there's a little bit more merit to it too, because when you're damaging something that large in an area, depending on if it's a big city, it may not matter that much. But when you're riding in something that actually, like if you take down a Walmart, for example, it would definitely hurt the city that you're in, which they do get a lot of revenue from police stations using the police force in general. So it's like that's a good way to, and they also bring in a lot of tax revenue to the local government and everything. So it's like you're not only getting a message across in like a very vocal way, but you're also actively impeding on stuff that would help the opposition.
Yeah. Or no, stuff that would help you. Like you mean?
Well, no, it's getting rid of the stuff that would help the opposition.
By burning down a Walmart?
Yeah, because that's the tax money that they're not going to be getting anymore if they're not able to operate.
Wait, what you're saying? Like the police?
It's not helping the city and the police if you burn down a Walmart.
But that's not their. I don't know.
They don't pay taxes specifically to help out the government.
If the government is paying too much taxes, or if it's paying the police force too much, that's a direct way to say like, you shouldn't be spending this much money.
But burning down a Walmart doesn't like meet that goal. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, it would. Because the Walmart's directly bringing in tax revenue from the
it's also that tax revenue also goes to schools and also goes to like other social programs within the city.
I was going to lead into that by saying like it's not all good that you're doing that. That there is merit in doing that in that regard, but you're also doing a lot of like in the tax revenue in general. They're paying for more than just
burning down a Walmart
stations.
Is such a roundabout way of delivering your message that there's no cost benefit for it at all.
Just burn down the precinct.
Just go where you're needed.
I'm saying in a video game in Grand Theft Auto, go burn
in
down
Minecraft,
the precinct.
burn down a police precinct.
In Minecraft, we're gonna get flagged.
Hey guys,
I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that
I think it's like it could be morally justified.
Yeah, I'm saying that I got into a lot of arguments about this because people didn't understand the full idea of it. They're like burning bad, destroying stuff is bad, and it's like with a whole lot of protests, literally almost every protest that mattered that turned into a riot at any point in American history, there has been positive outcomes from it. Whether or not the riot was actually bad itself is kind of
I mean,
it depends how much you're willing to go to affect the place that you're surrounding.
Yeah, it actually just stirs up the people.
The thing is, it depends on like what you call a success, because like sometimes, like there's a lot of sacrifices that happen in that. And also it doesn't always lead to success.
That's a good point though.
Because I just wanted to say something like the, what was it? Like the 1960 riots or some shit that like happened after Martin Luther King Jr. died. There's a lot of like research that like points to saying that that the riots that happened after that like led to the election of like Richard Nixon. You know what I mean? Because cities were kind of getting destroyed, and like the perception,
polarization of it.
The perception of like people, like it doesn't really matter what the facts are necessarily. It just matters what people see and what they believe.
Yeah.
And so if they're being fed like all this shit, like this shit's burning down and this city's being destroyed and this shit is happening, then that's what they're going to believe. And that's what they're going to vote against.
To Donald Trump in 2020.
Yeah. Because like people, it's like, there's a lot of like ebbs and flows and like big, like reactions to shit. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
it's
a
always
lot
going
of
to
shit
be polarizing.
Like since like 2008, I'd say like we've been pulling like pretty hard to the left. There's a lot of like good things that have happened in the past like decade or two that have just been like really good like social changes and like really like positive progressive like movements. But it feels like there's going to be, and there is already like a big shift to the right, where there's like a lot of like the more conservative people are going to become even more conservative to compensate for like the more progressive we've gotten. You know what I mean?
Make a tear.
Well, hopefully we don't make a tear.
Rip them off like a little scab.
Hopefully we can find somewhere in the middle, maybe towards the left.
Call the weak.
It's
you're moderate.
Yeah. Well, it's just I'm hopeful for that rather than like a fascist state. You know what I mean? It's like, because honestly, I feel like if there was like a fucking civil war or like a revolution or something by like people, by like conservatives, I feel like they'd win because they all have guns. They're all the ones that are doing like the doomsday prepper shit. They're all the ones like that are like insane on that level to like be able to like be in like these QAnon groups. And
I would not win
like,
against the QAnon
governors.
Dude.
I
just willing to help out the police during the riots. So,
I feel like
look at fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. He just showed up, shot people, and left.
Yeah, he just doesn't care, But it's like
he's a hero. God damn it.
I think it's like, I don't know. It's a little scary.
It is.
I think because it's like nothing is ever certain in the future, and like if you look at Iran. Like they were super progressive, like in the Middle East. Like they had, women had their hair out. They were like bathing suit models, like all this shit. And then there was a fascist takeover by some terrorist group or whatever. I forget the whole context.
Some terrorist
but it's
group.
like, and they were like fundamentalist Muslims. I guess it'd be the caliphate of Iran right now. And they like overtook, and it's like super fucked now. Like that
could very well happen to us.
Yeah, honestly. And it's like, it's really worrisome, especially if like people who care about this shit don't do anything about it.
And with something like the BLM protests and everything, that would be a way for them to kind of segue into something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like BLM and Antifa are gonna fucking kill us and shit, because they legitimately spun the idea that BLM and Antifa were like terrorist organizations.
Antifa could arguably be one, but like BLM as a terrorist organization, fuck no. That is like absolutely not. But like in terms of
what
like,
is the argument for Antifa being a terrorist organization? I'm curious.
well, because sometimes they do like terrorist shit. Like it depends on what you define as terrorism, right?
Okay, fair.
Because it's like the thing about like terrorist, it's a really like amorphous, like ambiguous term. You know, like
It depends
one
on
man's
what you're.
terrorist is another man's
Yeah,
freedom
exactly.
fighter. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like, but it's like I'm just more of looking at it like, you know, I believe that like Proud Boys act as terrorists a lot. You know what I mean? And like things like that. And I think sometimes Antifa does too, where they go like they overcompensate. No, they overcompensate and they do something that like they participate in sparking the violence. Like a lot of people say like, you know, oh, it's always right-leaning people who spark it. And it's like, it's really like, it's give or take. Like it depends on the situation. Sometimes it's fucking Antifa people. Sometimes it's fucking crazy conservatives.
Everything's all just semantics.
Well, then how would you feel
it's
about?
not semantics. that's not what semantics means.
Well, how'd you feel about like the Black Panther Party?
I think the Black Panther Party, what's it called? Well, so here's the thing. Like, just because I think like something might be a terrorist group doesn't mean I necessarily think it's like on the whole bad, because I do think the Black Panther group could probably be considered.
It's a good terrorist group.
Yeah, it is. Because one man's terrorist is another man's freedom
They're
fighter.
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think that there are people who are willing to use like political violence, or at least the threat of violence, to achieve some political ends. And I think sometimes that is necessary, like with the Black Panthers, who would like patrol their own cities with guns and shit and like watch police officers. And it's like they're not doing anything wrong, but they did some, like sometimes there was like some crazy shit that happened.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's just not everything's black and white, you know?
Yeah.
The world is
Disclaimer.
a shades of gray.
Disclaimer, Null Thought does not promote any forms of violence.
Absolutely
Please
not.
solve all your shit peacefully, if at all possible.
Please
but
do
if
it
shit
inside of
goes
a mic
bad,
that's
you have a
over.
right to defend yourself. Remember that.
I think it's I think peaceful protest is the most effective way to get shit changed.
Most
but
likely.
I think sometimes certain forms of violence could be justified. Not saying I would participate in, not saying I would promote it, but it could be justified.
Here's a follow-up question. For the BLM protests, there was a long string of time where the protests were peaceful. And then when they started popping up like all over in major cities and stuff, people began like the police began I don't even know how to word it, like counter-forcing. Regulating is the best. That's what the American government would say.
Yeah. Regulating. You're their lawyer.
So yeah, once they came in and regulated stuff, and then the riots began after that. Would you say that is like a good form of that kind of counteraction?
I mean, it's a response.
I think that's like a natural reaction to like police violence. I think that's totally justified. You know what I mean? I don't know if I would promote it, because like sometimes like even if it's justified, it still like makes your group look bad. You know what I mean? And it's like at the end of the day, the perception is what matters. You know, so if you see like a bunch of videos of like protesters getting like beaten and like, you know, shit like that sets a tone for like what's actually happening. You know what I mean? That's what makes people understand like, okay, what's going on here? And if they're only
makes people actually
like,
question and then find out and then pick an actual goddamn side instead of just being fed info.
No, most people just eat it up. They just eat up the info that they get. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's some people that don't, but the vast majority just eat it up. Like even me, I've been the victim of so much like misinformation, because it's like with certain breaking news moments, it's like there's bound to be shit that's just like not true that people are just saying because it's like, oh, I heard this, I heard that, you know, or people just like lying to lie. You know what I mean?
4chan.
Yeah. But it's like, cause like, here's a really good example. Okay. In Oregon, Portland, they were like rioting and like protesting and like setting up like autonomous zones or whatever, like for like more than 100 days or something.
Jesus.
But the reason is because the police, you know, the police in the city of Portland, there was a lot of,
precinct? Is that what
yeah, well, I think because it's like, it was multiple precincts like within the city.
The conglomerate.
You know? Yeah, the conglomerate of the police within Portland.
The police
like
faction.
Many of them were either like members. They were like members of like the 3%ers or like other like white nationalists. Like
say the 3%ers.
Yeah,
wow, imagine coping that hard.
And like other like white nationalists like the organizations, and they've seen in Portland specifically like a lot of like really bad treatment for Black people. You know what I mean? And so like I think like there in that case, like rioting, especially against state-owned shit, like that would be justified. But like burning down a Target makes no fucking sense. So it's just like it doesn't.
It hurts you as much as it benefits you.
Don't burn the place you're about to shop for food for the next week.
Because like I don't know. I think one, people need to stop thinking about themselves, because like burning down that Walmart is also gonna fuck up like the poor woman who uses Walmart because it's the fucking cheapest place to get groceries. Like it's just fucked.
It gets your message across.
Well, I think it sends the wrong message though, because what they're saying, like what message are you sending with that?
That they need. I mean, the thing is like the extremity of it. It's saying that we are willing to go to these kinds of lengths to get the change that we actually desire. Yeah,
but do you think that makes you look good?
No.
Okay.
I'm not agreeing that it does.
All right. Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's not all bad. There are benefits to it, but I'm not going to say that the benefits outweigh the negatives.
Yeah. I think it's a net negative. That's what I'll say. It's a net negative.
Yeah, I can agree.
Because it just, I think it, the negatives are like, it makes your movement look bad. It makes like, it really affects like the economy in the local area. And like, you might be endangering people. Depending on when they do it.
The private businesses people were burning down and stuff like that doesn't make sense.
Family owned businesses, like that shit is insane.
Yeah, what they do? Why fuck me for?
Yeah, honestly. And like, oh my God, I'm sorry for like rehashing this, because I just want to say I support like BLM fully, and I think like what happened to George Floyd was like bullshit, obviously.
Absolutely.
But like there was some really cringe shit where like there were a bunch of BLM protesters like talking to this business owner, like asking her to raise a fist, like in solidarity with the protesters. Yeah. And it's like, and they're like harassing her and like ganging up on her. And it's like, bro, like move the fuck on. Like, don't do this cringy shit. Yeah. Like, I understand wanting to gain support for the movement, but don't like single people out and mob
you can't
up
force
on them.
people to do that stuff, because then people will just say they don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like blocking traffic.
Naturally react and just like be like, no, fuck you. I don't want to participate in this bullshit that you're forcing me to do. And it's like, if you want to do that in the protest, fine. Like, it's fine. And it could be good even, it feels good to like be part of that, like,
the movement,
the big group. Yeah. The big group, like movement. And you're all like unified in that one thought. I think it's cool, but it's just like really cringe to like force it on people.
When it became
a lot of these moves don't have like genius fucking tacticians behind them. It's just a bunch of people who think that they're doing what's best.
Yeah. What I was about to say was like,
they're all organized by different people.
But like when they get to that bigger group of people, because a lot of the actual movements and the gatherings that they would have for the actual protest became, and there was a lot of people there. The only organizing that they did was like, we're going to go to this spot and protest. And, whatever happened afterwards was essentially whatever happened.
Yeah, just a series of events.
So if the police did come in and regulate, in air quotes,
the whole strong.
Because like the thing is like, I saw like a shit ton of like horrible footage of police beating the fuck out of people for like no reason.
Literally, when we went to the protest in our city, they were like we were having like moments of silence for the people that died like by police brutality, and there's fucking police behind us making comments. Yeah, they're like making comments on it, and I'm like, dude. And then when I fucking tweeted it out, like I tweeted like what happened, and I was like, this is super fucked up. And then the police station respond not to my tweet but in like a Facebook post.
Oh really?
Then, they were like, that didn't happen. I'm like, dude, what? And obviously I can't prove it because I didn't
record it or anything.
I didn't record it or anything, but absolutely it did happen.
Fucked up.
Which is like, it's really fucked up to see it firsthand, just to, because I mean, I expected it, but I was still surprised. I was like, come on, dude.
It's like a he said, she said, and it's like, they're not gonna take responsibility for that if they don't have to.
That's the easiest out. I mean? Yeah, they can just say, nope, we didn't do it.
That didn't happen. You're being a silly liberal.
You're gaslighting us.
You're gaswalling.
You're gaslamping me.
Gaswalling.
Earlier, like I was saying, like people essentialize things so much because of like whatever narrative they're fed. It's like they're able to just put people in these groups, Like if you see a lot of rioting footage, I don't blame you for like disliking BLM, especially if like your particular city was affected or something like that, However, like it misses all the context, of course, of like police brutality and that shit. But, oftentimes it doesn't matter what the context is because it all matters about perception and what people are fed and like what they see.
I think the funniest part about all of that was like mostly the right backlash to that was that the BLM protesters were the ones rioting and like starting all this stuff. And it's just like, how do you think people are going to respond when the same shit happens to them? You know? And it's like people focus way too much on like what they did in response to the police regulation.
Yeah, doing like crazy shit.
When they were tear gassing people or like bumping them with riot shields and shit.
I think the police did more provoking than like right wing and counter protesters did. At least in like the BLM.
Oh yeah, I mean it was definitely the
series. Yeah. The BLM summer series. But like I think what's it called?
Wasn't there some dude who was dressed up in like full fucking armor? Or like a counter riot armor.
A lot of times they brought out like SWAT gear, like bulletproof vests and shit.
Like a protester.
Did you see some of the shit the protesters are wearing? They were making some like interesting ass, like fucking full Templar outfit just like out there.
I wouldn't doubt it, honestly.
I mean, honestly, they probably need it. They're getting rubber bulleted and tear gas.
I did see some crazy shit where I think it was in like San Francisco or something. There was like a protest and some dude like literally had a sword. Like he brought out a sword and like a bunch of, and like he
fucking weeb.
And he was like defending some restaurant. And I think I learned later that it wasn't even like his. Like he was just like stay away or something.
Medieval Kyle Rittenhouse.
He was like waving around the sword and shit. And he got like stomped the fuck out.
Oh my God.
It was really fucked up to watch. Like because people were like fucking him up. It was so fucked.
Jesus.
Sometimes like
if he's like running around threatening people with it, I would need to see the video.
Yeah,
I think I do remember the thing that you were talking about though. I think I do remember seeing it. And from what I recall, he was like going up to people.
Yeah, I think he was doing weird shit. But I'm just saying like maybe the response like stomping on him while he's on the fucking ground. Like maybe not do that. Dude. Yeah.
Go back to your fucking your troll.
He's like literally like 5'7", like 130 pounds or something.
You don't need to
like,
beat the shit out of
people. You don't need to
fucking
fucking curb stomp him.
Beat the shit out of the cops. You know, you kind of can't because they're in full riot gear. But
yeah, you got to do a bit more crunching to get through that.
Yeah. A bit more crunching. I'm gonna get to crunching.
But yeah,
that's almost get crunchy.
I think now that we're away from the discourse of like 2020, I think we can say that
we can say it.
Anthony can say it.
Thank you.
No, what I mean was like I think I'm able to criticize it more just because like I think the writing did come off like way more negative than it kind of meant to be because it was mostly try to get I know the sentiment of the people writing were to get the message out.
Yeah.
And it definitely, like what you said earlier, it was kind of dejectful to the other side because it's like it wasn't reasonable to them to be like, oh, why are you doing this? But you know, they weren't the ones there, and they weren't the ones you know, being beat the shit out of by police.
I feel like the BLM movement, in a way, being like kind of essentially lumped together with the LGBT movement. Just the fact that those two, the fact that they can combine their efforts essentially. I feel like overall it's been like a net positive in the long run.
Yeah. No, I definitely like people need to listen to these marginalized groups is the main takeaway.
But also like sometimes your messaging, like it matters a lot. You know what I mean? Like even the messaging of like the BLM protests, like I don't know necessarily like what specific BLM chapters were like promoting. However, a lot of the people like in like that participated in the protests were shouting shit like all cops are bastards and like, you know, pigs, watch them burn or some shit like that. Like, you know, and it's like, I love hating on the cops as much as the next guy. However, if you want to capture support of like people that are like a little bit more apprehensive, like calling
on the fence.
Calling all cops bastards, like it just like shuts you out.
Like my uncle's a cop. I think he's kind of cool.
And like, and it's like my uncle doesn't participate in systemic racism.
My uncle is not a cop. That was just an example.
Yeah. But yeah.
Otherwise, I'd stomp his ass out.
And I think a big problem of like from that or like why that happened is because a lot of people don't understand like systemic racism. Like, systemic racism can happen without any individual actor like being racist. You know, it doesn't need like
it's subtle racism through the ways that our society actually works.
Well, through the way that it was built, you know what I mean? Like there's just like redlining and like the discrimination, gerrymandering, like all that shit.
I love gerrymandering. Have you seen the new shapes that they create?
They're making like fucking hyperspheres to capture enough voters. We're gonna actually present our state as a 4D map, a 4D construction of two.
It's actually a projection of a shadow of a 6th dimensional.
I just think overall people got to learn more and be more.
I think ultimately
like more intelligent about like how they do.
People
shit.
need to understand the nuances of a lot of situations like this, because I mean, if you're not up to date with it, you're going to read just headlines and be like, wow.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of that.
Great, or like, this is really bad. Because there were a lot of people that were, you know, ultimately very for the riots. And initially I was. But, you know, thinking back on it now, it was kind of, it did hurt a lot of businesses that didn't really matter to it. Like there wasn't really a point in doing it. I understand the sentiment, but I can't really say it was like a good move. Like road blocking. It's like, I kind of don't think that's a great way, but it does get the message across, you know, either in a good way or a bad way.
At the end of the day, become more worldly, become more aware of the things that are going on around you, of the people who are interacting in your everyday life, whether you see them or do not see them. Be aware of the consequences of your own actions, and just know that shit's happening beyond your sight.
And nothing is one-sided either. Like usually when one thing happens, like rioting or burning down a building, there's other people that are affected by it.
Yeah. And even then, like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's such a fucking cancer, the enlightened centrism shit. Because like on one, like unironically, like sometimes we just need to aim for the middle, because like a lot of conservatives won't accept certain shit and it will like make them hate like liberals and like freak the fuck out. And it's like, that's bad and that's not good that like that we have a bunch of people in the country that react like that.
But also we need to agree at some point.
You need to like make concessions. Conservatives now, it's like back then they were like, no gay marriage, never. And now it's like, I don't want my trans daughter to get married to another like trans daughter or something like that.
They're understanding.
You know? Like they've like moved, their like goalpost has moved because we've pushed them that way.
But then as a counterpoint, they've also gotten a lot more aggressive about it.
Yeah, they definitely have. But it's like it really all depends on messaging, because like if we as like left people, because like there are ways to present like people like transgender people and like gay people and all these things in like a more like positive light than I think a lot of people do. Like they say shit like, you know, like, because it could be like made up shit from conservatives, but like there'll be people on like TikTok who are like, you know, oh, I'm gonna make your kid trans, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that.
And they don't understand the joke.
Feeding your child
it's a joke, but it's like holy. They're like, what the fuck? You're gonna fucking turn my kid's trans?
I think the problem with that is that as conservatives begin conceding more, or at least more and more, and they start like opening up to the idea of these things, all these the diversification of the laws, all their problems start becoming more and more hyper specific, and a lot of things are
harder to solve.
They're harder to solve, and you can take them more personally.
True.
Once they start becoming something that's now this personally affects me, because it's not like I can just be like, I hate the gays. It's just like, well, my son is transgender, and you know, I want him leading like a normal life. You know,
and like sometimes it's not even necessarily that it impacts their life, but it's like the world around them doesn't match their moral perspective. You know what I mean? Like they see gay people as something that shouldn't be promoted, or like trans people shouldn't exist, and like that's really dumb and stupid and bad, and I don't like that people believe that. But at the same time, we're in a democracy, and you need to find a way to like meet somewhere in the middle, so like where we don't go crazy to the left that makes them go crazy to the right. You know what I mean?
But I feel like something like protecting trans people it's not such an extreme ideology that is crazy like that.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. Like it depends on the way that you couch it, like the way that you present it. You know what I mean?
I don't think anyone's. Well, first of all, the
conservatives find a way to demonize it regardless.
Yeah, I feel like, but it's like, why do we have to submit to them?
You want to make it as hard to demonize as possible. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
They're not going to care. They've already demonized. They've already demonized essentially everything, down from something that either is correct, like, you know, previously the Black Lives Matter riots, to something that isn't something that should be demonized or can't be demonized at all. There's something going on with you know, transgender people that are like, so they're not doing anything crazy or violent. They're literally just saying, hey, I want protection from these hate groups, like, and, you know, my own kind of.
We have like a really toxic culture in America, especially like a social
Call
culture.
of Duty games.
That, but also like in that, like sometimes people in like minority groups, like they represent their whole like group. You know what I mean? Like when something like with do you know the Wii Spa like thing that happened?
No.
I think somewhere in like California or something, there was like there's like a spa, and they had a policy where it's like whatever you identify with, go into that bathroom. And it's like
Pool's
totally
got
cool.
AIDS.
And there was like a trans woman that went there, and she had a penis, and they're
like, what the fuck?
And yeah, so like I don't know if anything like actually happened. I didn't really like read into it that much, but like this woman like freaked out, and like the way that people like reacted to it, I think like it just like wasn't a good way to respond to.
I mean, it's like, why does it matter that there's a penis in there?
Yeah, I
think the thing is that people think that
the penis will not touch you. Do not be afraid.
I think in these spaces, like these gendered spaces that we have set up, it's like people are so afraid that something is going to happen if the other gender came in.
Yeah,
it's like it's kind of like it's like a birthplace mindset where in this country we're like, this is a space for men. This is a space for women. So when it comes to,
we vilified the idea of just existing in the same space as the other gender, because it's like,
especially in like bathrooms and stuff, it's like I don't think it matters that much. I can take a shit in the bathroom next to a woman and I don't care.
Yeah, there's literally stalls for a fucking reason. It's to provide privacy in this somewhat public space that we all take a shit size piss in.
I think certain gendered spaces though, like I think they should be like allowed, because like so in certain areas like look spas.
At Japan. Japan has like women train cars and stuff because it is like just a safety hazard to,
And
I think women gyms should be a thing too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like I think
Keep
there's
them
like
women out my goddamn gym.
There's like a legitimate like I think a fear of like women like being afraid of men, because like the idea of like,
dude, I'm afraid of women.
Like,
dude.
Well, that's a different context.
All right, fair enough.
You're not worried they're gonna overpower you and kill you or something.
Fair. I'm afraid they're gonna cancel me.
Oh my
God. I'm canceling you for that one.
No, don't stop.
But yeah,
there's too much info out there.
I don't know. It's just all very complex, and like I don't know what the answer is. I'm thinking about this out loud, because it's just like there are good ways to go about certain political messaging, and there are bad ways, and there are some ways where you can't avoid.
I agree with the sentiment that we do need to kind of moderate ourselves, but I think there's two things I want to say to that. One, I think the idea of like minorities being protected is not something we should be able to moderate ourselves.
No,
on.
absolutely.
I think it's something that we should stay sternly like, this should be what we want in society.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, oh, give them some protection, or like say that some of this stuff is they're able to act like as a normal fucking person. But the other thing I was going to say is like the politics that we have going on right now in terms of, who's in office on the left, they're not going to actually do anything about that. I feel like there's not much that they have really done in terms of the issues that are going on.
It's really hard to like get that political change like done, because like states, the way that the United States is like set up, like the states have like a lot of weird power in some areas, you know what I mean? Where they can restrict a lot of civil liberties that the federal government affords to people. And even sometimes the states like allow more, like with weed, for instance, in like Colorado or something.
Slightly, go on.
But I was just going to say like, I think it's like what we can do is like, we don't have to moderate our views, but we moderate our rhetoric, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And moderate the way that we try and display our views to make it like the most palatable, most acceptable way, where like even we can like buy into their worldview and like change their opinion through their lens. You know what I mean?
That's an infiltration mission.
Yeah, because
I'm like becoming a conservative.
It's really hard for like conservative, like a Christian conservative and a liberal atheist to have like a really good conversation. You know what I mean? Because there's just
it's just gonna be name calling.
Yeah, it's two very different like
you
perceptions
need some
of the
sort
world.
Of like drug involved in order to get that
you gotta get
well.
them drunk first. You gotta get them liquored up.
You make them rail a line of coke.
That might make it worse.
That's where you get the real content.
Yeah, you tell them that both their drinks have been poisoned. They have to agree by the end of the 30-minute timer to die.
You get the antidote.
Yeah, find the policy prescription for this, or you die in 30 minutes.
I think that in terms of policy, we can be a little bit more moderate. Minus minority protection, but in terms of the stuff that we have going on now, like climate change regulation, and I'm forgetting like literally every issue that we have in America, but
there are a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot.
It's a list.
Yeah, so like it comes down to the situation. It just depends on how much we actually need this and how much we can afford to give away to conservatives, and also like who don't want it. Essentially,
what can we afford to like like achieved, because even if we can't get like a bill passed that says, you know, like all transgender people can use the bathroom or whatever, or use the bathroom of their choice, which is actually something that Biden did. I think it was like I don't think it was an executive order. I think it was like tacked on to some piece of legislation, but I forget.
Or like what's happening with Texas now? We need to be able to do some. Abortion is a huge one now, actually. Now that I remember it.
Like some things like that, like that's what the Supreme Court is for. You know, if there is like a really fucked up case, like that woman who got fucking arrested for having a miscarriage. Like she literally got arrested for having a miscarriage.
What the fuck?
And like the
how do you control that?
They don't give a shit. They're like a dead baby.
Yeah.
Kill the mother.
And like the what's it called? It's just
they don't understand the whole they don't understand the overarching idea of it. They're just looking at it from the religious standpoint.
Well,
it's like this is bad.
Because that's their moral framework.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like because in our principles, you know, we're unmoving in like civil rights for like black people or trans people or gay people or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I would not like move on that. But in terms of like for my own principles, but in terms of like policy passed, like I'm gonna take what gains I can.
Hopefully win out in the long run.
Yeah.
In terms of the strategy of like marginal gains over time, I do see the strategy in that. It's just like you have to understand that is the goal from like the Democrats.
You don't accept a perfect reality because it's perfect. You accept it because you can work towards it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, incremental steps are better than no steps.
Yeah. And it's just, honestly, it's just a symptom of democracy. Like, it's really fucking difficult to get anything done. In America too. Yeah. And especially, like, how different the cultures are everywhere. And, like, you know, the polarization that exists. I think that's
the worst part about America. There's I mean, I like the idea that we're very, there's a lot of diverse culture, but in terms of.
We're not accepting that diverse culture, which is.
Well, it depends on where you go.
Yeah, that's very
Political culture is not very varied in America, I think. Because we don't have enough, don't have enough discourse represented. It's just it's like whatever the conservatives have been all over the fucking right side of the spectrum.
Our politics are kind of isolated from, like, not necessarily isolated from the rest of the world, but like
we are pretty isolated.
Yeah, but just like us physically being isolated, the only like immediate, you know, people involved with us would be fucking Mexico and Canada, and they don't want anything to do with us. So
well, like what we did in Mexico.
We want a lot of things to do with NAFTA. Them. Yeah.
Well, there's like you know.
Yeah, there is, but
there's organizations that we share in North America.
Yeah, but like the federal and the state intercontinental, you know, political spectrum is just kind of in like disrepair. We don't agree on on like any foreign policy with both state and federal.
I think there'd be a lot more discourse if we didn't have that kind of state. I'm not saying completely get rid of the state government, but I'm saying that kind of power that we have for the states. Yeah. Like if we were able to say like, oh, you have to be able to go through the federal government to do this in the first place, I think that would be a nice check and balance.
We somehow politically exist in like a duality, and it's really weird. We're in you could go weird position.
I mean, look at going to like a fucking rural Texas versus like big city California.
Yeah,
it's like a completely different.
Yeah,
everything essentially,
and that exists in Europe, but I think because there are so many like European countries that are like right next to each other,
they're more densely populated.
Because the countries are smaller, so they need to be more densely populated. And
good observation.
Thank you. And you know, it's just like what was my point? What was I gonna say?
You're saying that because they're more densely populated or densely packed
they
together.
just have like more shit to worry about, so like they can kind of cooperate more, and like they don't have like that delineation or whatever where it's like the state and federal
have more to worry about than America. I'm not saying that we have
in terms of like foreign threats and foreign
they have a lot more foreign policy to worry about.
Absolutely.
That's what you're saying.
That is what I'm saying, because there's such a fucking mass of countries over there. You know what I mean? Like North Africa is very close to Europe and like all of those countries, and like, you know, there's a fuck ton of countries in that area.
The other countries are kind of like a conglomeration of businessmen meeting up for a meeting. They're all handshake, and then we come in like 6-year-old toddlers dressed up in our Sunday best.
Because we don't have something like that where it's like the states don't need to commingle with each other.
Yeah, we
as much as other countries
Nerf guns, threaten everyone, and then we head out.
Yeah, there isn't commingling amongst the states because like
states are mostly isolated in terms of the way that they're governed.
Yeah, well, I think like
or like fiefs.
I don't know the like organizational
guilds.
structure of the EU. I don't know if it'd be considered like a confederation or something.
They're a lot
Bring
more
black-
intermingled than the
Bring
states
black.
are.
Yeah, well, because they all had like their own currencies and they all had their own shit, but they've like
They've standardized.
they've standardized a lot of
agreed
shit
for
yeah.
once.
Yeah,
I think something like the European Union is something that we should look towards with like
Canada and
Foreign
Mexico.
policy,
yeah.
at least.
Well, not Canada and Mexico, between states of America, because right now
well-
the EU has more state control than America does.
What do you mean by that?
They also have
Because
the
they
queen.
have to like a lot of what they do in terms of their culture and their economy does directly affect other countries in that area
yeah.
because they're worried a lot more about foreign policy and like the euro and
Yeah.
stuff. So in America, we do have the U.S. dollar shared among all the states, but that's essentially it. Like in terms of our federal laws dictating what can happen in the state, or like what should happen in a state, is like there's not a lot of laws pertaining to that. A lot of the law interpretation comes at the state level and then the local level after that, and and that leads to why there's so many different. I don't want to say cultures because it's more a societal standard, a moral standard, and a political standard, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I just think there needs to be like a more grounded framework of the federal government where it's like we are guaranteeing these rights. You can't like it's unmoving. Like
we do have a little bit of that.
Yeah, but it's not enough. You know,
we need to look at like what Texas is doing. We need to, like I said earlier, we should check that and be like, is that
I
even
bet it'll go up to the Supreme
constitutionally?
Court. I bet it will.
I fucking hope so.
Yeah, we should just do a massive like revision of like all the states. Like just do a one
Massive
big,
revision.
Yeah.
We need to respec.
Get rid of Rhode
Seriously,
Island.
just do one big like reconsolidation of like understanding
People would be so
the
pissed at that.
federal and state laws to make sure that there's fucking
People identify
continuity.
with their state just as much as people identify with a country.
I would.
I think it
like,
depends on the state, but yeah, you're right.
The thing is, I just want to
Mostly,
agree
I should
on.
say.
I just want to agree on like some form of like continuity. Like that's all
Yeah,
I fucking
yeah.
give
And
a
that's what I'm
shit
saying.
about.
Like,
Like
there
there's so
should
much
be-
disconnect between both the federal and state that there are so many laws and so many policies that are just kind of fucking flipped on their head because they're being contradicted some fucking way.
Yeah.
Like what's the point of having, these laws if they're going to be in contradiction with each
Yeah.
other because two people decide on separate things? No, we all need to agree on this fucking
Yeah.
shit. They're literally our laws. They govern us.
Yeah, like for example, like Roe v. Wade's interpretation is in direct violation of, or I guess what Texas is doing is in direct violation of what Roe v. Wade interpreted.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like
that would have to be argued in the court, but I don't know if it is or
that's
not.
my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
because it's like how are you supposed to do? Because the doctors get fined if they even do that, and it's a very obvious health hazard.
You have to remember like why Roe v. Wade was passed because it wasn't like the right to get an abortion. It was the right to privacy and the right to like be able to get an abortion without like the
Anonymously.
view of the state. or
Yeah, but the
anything,
thing
you
is,
know
the
what I mean?
doctors have to report that this person is doing this, right? Or somebody has to report it. That's
well,
the whole aspect
for-
of it.
there is a-
for the what's it called? For the abortion bill in Texas, like it's like a bounty thing where like if
A bounty.
because like they'll give you a
they'll pay you
$10,000 reward if you report someone who had an abortion.
What is this,
Yeah.
Big Brother?
So
Yeah.
isn't that like directly in violation for like the privacy
It
aspect?
depends on how it's argued. Like I feel like there's a way where you could argue that it's like, well, her privacy
Look at HIPAA.
does not. Well, what I'm saying is like her privacy does not. What's it called? Like
I think
override my ability to like have my child
overhears-
be born or something like that. Like I'm not saying I agree with this, but I feel like there are ways for it to be
devil's
argued
advocate.
out of.
Yeah,
you know what I
I
mean?
feel
I'm
like-
not even playing devil's advocate. I'm just saying like I don't know where it would go. You know, the decision might have to be like it might not violate Roe v. Wade, but it could still be in violation of the Constitution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in a different way, and it would make a new ruling. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's the way the information would be obtained is the way it could be argued in court. Other than that, I'm not too sure it would be a violation of privacy because it's like if
Yeah, what if
someone,
they shared the information with
if
you?
someone finds out by hearsay and it's like it turns out to be true, well, that's the person's fault for letting information leak. I'm not.
But I think letting
I'm not
information
like
leak
obviously
is,
saying
Yeah.
this is a great idea, but I'm saying it's like if
It's not justified.
it could be argued that if you let the information leak, you are culprit to whatever consequences may become of that.
but that in that case, you can argue that just simply finding the information out, finding that out in some sort of like medical record or something is like, oh, I found it out. That way it's not private anymore.
Well, I feel like a medical record is very different.
But if you're getting an abortion,
if you're a person
wouldn't that include a medical record?
Yeah,
medical
it
records?
would. But I'm saying like it could be. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but it's like the doctor doesn't even have to report someone. It could be anyone. You know what I mean? So like the doctor would probably carry out the abortion and be fine with it because most medical practitioners are. But it's like the person who reports you and then you get investigated and then they find out that something happened. That's like the process in which it goes.
But I don't think they should have any reason to investigate you because they're saying that it's illegal and then saying that they need to investigate it because it's illegal.
They shouldn't, but that's how it could be spun.
And this is why it might be unconstitutional. But I just don't know if it would violate Roe v. Wade in terms of like the way that was like decided.
Because people actively looking out for it too. So it's like
But how is that any of anybody's business what they're doing in a hospital?
It's not anybody's business.
I'm not saying it is anybody. I'm not saying it's good or anything. I'm not even arguing for it. I'm just saying like it might.
I know.
Not.
I'm just arguing against the interpretation how it could be spun the other way because I honestly disagree because I think that it's very clear. I don't think it could be argued the other way because it's like gaslighting, saying that we made it illegal, so we're looking out for it, and then if we find that it's illegal, then it's justified. It's like you're justifying your own witch hunt.
Well, that's what a lot of laws do. You know what I mean? And a lot of those laws have been found unconstitutional in some respects. And that's what I'm saying. But I just because like the thing with Roe v. Wade is that like the wording is so specific and like kind of ambiguous, and that's the reason that allows like states to be able to change a lot of legislation regarding abortion because they can ride the line of like, oh, we're going to fucking show you kids of like, or videos of like toddlers walking around and shit, or we're going to show you or we're going to reject your ability to get like abortion
not even
anyway.
Those sad puppy commercials can get to me. You think show me a child's going to work? No.
But I just think like, it's just the way that Roe v. Wade is worded is very bad in terms of protecting abortion rights. You know what I mean? So it might be found, what's it called? It might be found unconstitutional in a different way than Roe v. Wade.
Yeah,
and I think that would be better. I think that'd be better than anything else, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the alternatives are that it gets found unconstitutional through Roe v. Wade, which I guess is good because it'll get rid of that law, but it doesn't change the other laws that affect. But if Roe v. Wade gets eliminated altogether, then it's super fucked.
Yeah. I mean, in general, I think this should be where we say like, because look at Texas has basically waited enough time to be like, okay, so there's no, federal law that says that's dictating that is a right for people to have. So until that happens, they're allowed to do whatever they want.
It all depends. It's until someone sues the state for doing some fucked up shit, and then it moves through all the appellate courts up to the Supreme Court. That's what'll happen. And I think unless it gets resolved in the state somehow, and then they change the legislation, but that's probably unlikely. But you never know. Some Supreme Courts are pretty good. Like the Ohio Supreme Court struck down the Republican gerrymandering map that they made.
Oh, nice.
There's also a similar bill to Texas in Ohio too, though, or maybe that was a "Don't Say Gay" bill. I'm not sure. It was one of the two.
Like you're saying that Ohio has a similar bill as the
either the either the "Don't Say Gay" bill or the Texas abortion.
It's probably, I don't know if we have like a bounty thing, but we do have like really bad laws around abortion. And other shit too.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we're not a great state.
It's weird that we're like a swing state because we're super conservative.
Yeah,
it's really like only Cleveland, Cincy, and Columbus that are like liberal.
I do agree that a lot of court cases when they rule, it's like the wording is made to be ambiguous in a way that I think mostly they should be interpreted as. They should be interpreted to make a law after that. Because if this case if it gets solved in a way that is ambiguous, or it leads the possibility of it happening again, it's like I think something needs to be done about it. It needs to be understood that this is an issue.
The problem is that like no law is airtight. You know what I mean? Like,
they're all words.
It's all about interpretation. And if you can build an argument to like make that interpretation make sense or be valid, you know what I mean? And that doesn't make it good or justified, but that's just like how the system works.
We got to stop using English for laws.
Yeah, it's English.
Just use code.
Yeah, we have an AI just decide everything.
I mean, would it not?
This is a random number generator.
There'd be less like interpretation. I mean, it wouldn't be. It would be both.
I'm
good
not going to
and
use a
bad.
computer to determine.
Yeah, no, I feel like that'd be way worse.
No, not to determine like the outcome, just to determine the wording.
Yeah, but even wording, I don't think.
I think a human
really
would
work.
infinitely be better at that,
Do
anyways.
you really think so?
Yeah, because I mean, we would have to train a robot for literally. We would have to train it so much.
Yeah.
I don't think a robot could ever be.
Who coded the robot? You know what I mean? Like
A
you're
racist
never.
white man.
oh yeah, perfect. Throw him on. Throw it. Do it. No, I'm kidding. But like it's just very.
This is a semantics deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like in terms of like how you interpret shit, it's a lot of semantics for sure. But yeah, the world is semantics. What can I say?
All right.
It's over.
Thanks for tuning in to this horrible episode.
All right. Good night.
Bye bye, bitch.
I love
Bye.
you. Welcome back and goodbye.